Welcome to lesson 2.5, real life problems continued. I want you to do the bell ringer first if you haven't done so already. Then pause the video, raise your hand to get it checked. Thank you. All right, welcome back. So hopefully you did a good job on that bell ringer. Remember, if you didn't get it right the first time, to put parentheses around each of these when you plug it into the calculator, okay? So our objective for today is we're going to use scientific notation to solve real life problems. So the first question says, the approximate total area of Earth is 5.1 times 10 to the 8th kilometers squared. Saltwater has approximate surface area of 352 million kilometers squared, and freshwater has an approximate surface area of 9 times 10 to the 6th kilometers squared. How much of the Earth's surface is covered by water, including both salt and fresh water? Write your answer in scientific notation. So to start off, we have to figure out what salt water is and fresh water. So if I have salt water, it is, salt water is the 352 million. And it looks like the fresh water is 9 times 10 to the 6th. So for these to be combined, well, combining them means that we're going to add them to figure out how much it is total. So remember, when I'm plugging it into the calculator, I have to put parentheses around both of them to add them together, okay? So I'm going to leave that up to you. Plug that into the calculator, write what that equals, and that's the total amount of kilometers squared that the Earth is covered by in water total, okay? Remember, it says to write your answer in scientific notation, so make sure that your calculator is in the SCI mode when you get your answer for that, okay? All right, so now we're going to look at the second problem. It says, how much of Earth's surface is covered by land? Well, to figure out how much is covered by land, we have to figure out how much is covered by water, which you should have figured out before was 3.6 times 10 to the 8th. So the total area of Earth is 5.1 times 10 to the 8th. To figure out how much is covered by land, we have to take away how much is covered by water because, Mrs. Well, it is either covered by land or water times 10 to the 8th. So when I subtract those, remember in your calculator, put parentheses around these. Go ahead and subtract those, and I want you to write what area of water of Mrs. Well, what area of the Earth is covered by water? Okay, so go ahead and plug that into your calculator to answer that question for me. All right, so now if we flip the page and we take a look at the next question, these are all just taking word problems and writing them out into expressions that then you are going to plug into the calculator, okay? We're not going to plug them in together. You're going to do it on your own. So this one says the speed of light is 300 million meters per second. The sun is approximately 1.5 times 10 to the 11th meters from Earth. How many seconds does it take for sunlight to reach Earth? Well, here we have the speed of light in meters per second, and we have this many meters. We want to figure out how many seconds it takes. So if I have 300 million meters per second, and I divide that by my 1.5 times 10 to the 11th meters, well, meters divided by meters is going to cancel out and give me my seconds, which is why I know that I have to divide them. So when I divide them, I will get my final answer, which will tell me how many seconds it takes for sunlight to reach Earth. So when you're plugging this into the calculator, make sure you put parentheses around this one and parentheses around the bottom one, okay? Now remember, we are dividing because we want to know the seconds, so we want to get rid of the meters, which is how we divide. So go ahead and pause the video and write the answer for this one. All right, welcome back. For this back one, I want to make sure that you wrote it in scientific notation, okay? So you should have got 5 times 10 to the second, or you should have got 500 seconds. So the next one says the mass of the moon is about 7.3 times 10 to the 22 kilograms. It would take approximately 26 million moons to equal the mass of the sun. Determine the mass of the sun. Well, if this is the mass of the moon and it would take this many moons to beat the sun, that means I have to add this many times. But we know that's really just multiplication. So for this one, we're going to take 7.3 times 10 to the 22nd. and we're going to multiply it by 26 million. Now, notice I put the parentheses around them, just like you're going to plug it into your calculator. So I want you to write this in correct scientific notation, okay? So this one, when you plug it into your calculator, I want the answer in scientific notation for me, okay? So go ahead and pause the video and do that for me. Awesome. So you should have got 1.898 times 10 to the 30th power. All right, flip the page. Let's look at a couple more. So this next one says the sun produces 3.8 times 10 to the 27th joules of energy per second. How much energy is produced in a year? And a year is approximately 31 million seconds. Holy moly. Okay, so the sun produces this many joules of energy per second. But I want to know how many in a year. And if this is how many seconds there are in a year, think about the operation you're going to have to do. Well, I'm going to have this many joules this many times. So for this one, I have to multiply. So when we're multiplying here, we have 3.8 times 10 to the 27th times, and I'm putting my 31 million in parentheses, just like you will on your calculator, to get your final answer. Again, I want you to write your answer in scientific notation. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video, figure out how much energy is produced in a year, and write it in scientific notation. All right, so now let's take a look at the next one. So it says Kevin moved from a city to a small town. The population of the city is 6 times 10 to the 5th, which is about 15 times as great as the small town. Which expression could represent the approximate population of the small town? Well, here's a fun fact. Small town is going to have a smaller population than a city, right? So if I look here, my exponent's a 5. So my exponent here to be a small town has to be smaller than my exponent of 5. So looking at my answer choices, I can get rid of D because that's to the 6th power. I can also get rid of C because if it's a smaller population, although the 5s are the same, 9 is bigger than 6. So in standard form, that one's going to be out as well. So now I'm down to the final 2. Well, if it's 15 times as great, that means that the small is 15 times smaller than this. So whenever we see how many times it is, we're going to divide. So we have 6 times 10 to the 5th is a city over the small, which is 15. So we're going to divide these out, put parentheses around each of them, and we put them in your calculator, and make sure you pick the correct answer choice that is in scientific notation for me, okay? So go ahead and pause the video and pick the correct answer. All right, welcome back. So the next one says the mass of the Earth is approximately 5.9 times 10 to the 24 kilograms, and the mass of Venus is approximately 4.9 times 10 to the 24 kilograms. Find their combined mass. Well, if I'm combining them, that means I'm adding them. So let's add the two together. 5.9 times 10 to the 24th, put parentheses around it for your calculator, plus parentheses 4.9 times 10 to the 24th. Close those parentheses. Make sure you write your answer again in scientific notation, okay? So go ahead, pause the video, write your answer in scientific notation. All right, welcome back. So now you're going to work on the practice, and you have these 2 problems that you're going to work on. So make sure that you're careful. The hardest part about word problems is figuring out which operation you're going to use. So the first one has it in meters per second, and the sun is approximately this far away from Mars. How many seconds does it take? Well, meters per second, I want to get rid of my meters. So for this one, look back at one of our examples to help you, okay? And then this one down here, all you need to know is the word difference. The word difference, okay? So I want you to do both of these practice problems. Raise your hand to get it checked when you're done with both of these practice problems. And then you can go on to quizzes. All right, thanks. Bye.